أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that there are 99 descriptions that God has defined himself with, and whoever accounts for them will go to heaven. They have a guarantee to go to heaven. This hadith is, number one, not to be understood that God only has 99 descriptions. No scholar of theology thinks this way. It's the common Muslim who heard that hadith thinks this means he must have 99 descriptions. There are 99 descriptions among his infinite possibilities as the infinite that if we understand them and we are living according to having an intimate knowledge of him, then we'll go to heaven. The accountability that we have is in recognizing that God is our creator and he is our provider, and we are ultimately accountable to him as a result of those things. And our life purpose is in coming to know him, feeling a sense of yearning and longing that as a physical body that we are in, we feel detached from that heavenly source that we come from. So we seek him out through creation and revelation. When you see creation and how it operates and how it is, you know by natural default, this did not just pop up out of nowhere and organize itself in such a vastly amazing, beautiful, complex way. And so now you want to find what is the reference by which I can know my Creator. And that's why he sent prophets. And prophets were sent with miracles. And these miracles proved that this person is not just claiming things to be a holy man, that the one who controls the laws of nature that we all know cannot be broken by any common person, that prophet was sent with those signs. So there are many signs within ourselves and all around us that confirm and are affirmed in the revelation that we read from the prophets. The Holy Quran tells us, قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Tell people, true favor is unquestionably in the hand of God, and he gives it to whomever he wills. He is vast and omniscient. Today we'll be talking about God's vastness, that the favor, the blessing, the sense of empowerment is infinite in possibility, that he is infinite in his reality. And so when we talk about wasi', we're talking about something that is all-encompassing, something that is vast, unlimited, something that has an expansive oversight and power and strength. So this, what we understand in this ayah that we read, it comes in the context of guidance, that true favor is in the hand of God, right? True knowing of objective morality is another way to put this. To know the truth, to have a reference for what actually is right and what actually is wrong. Because everybody has opinions, and everybody will always have opinions. But those will be the flawed human minds trying to come to what they believe without revelation, and they will always come up short. So his guidance comes to and is absorbed and understood and lived according to his favor, his grace, his blessing. He gives it to whom he wills. He is vast and omniscient. Number one, his knowledge of the hearts, his knowledge of the sincerity of a person is the key. God does not play games with guidance. God is not a fool. God is al-Hakim. He is wise. He would not guide someone who has no sincere intention to seek him, to do His will. No matter how much that person knows or memorizes or how influential or whoever, whatever name they were born with, He will not guide that person. But someone whom has been through terrible things and, struggled with good behavior, someone like Umar ibn Khattab or Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, when you look at some of these people, you say, wow, like they said, Umar's donkey would become Muslim before him. That's what they said. Because the reason why they said that is because the wife of the man across the street was gathering up their belongings and they're moving away from Mecca. And Umar became soft-hearted in that moment. And he said, why are you leaving? And she said, what you and all of these Quraysh are doing to us, we feel that we're unsafe, like we can't live in our home. We have to go somewhere strange. And Umar said, no. Maybe in that moment, Umar's heart changed and the path to guidance began. But of course, the human being around Umar, the husband of that woman, when she told him the story, he was like, what are you thinking? But she felt something, she saw something that he could not have seen. You see? And that was a blessing that Allah gave her, because now we know who Umar was, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And so God is vast and omniscient. He can change somebody worthy of it, somebody whose heart moves in the direction of Him, somebody who has that potential because of what's in their heart. So it's a qualifying attribute. God is vast in everything. He's vast in His generosity. He's vast in His knowledge. He's vast in His wisdom. He's vast in His judgment, in His capacity to control the affairs of the universe. Just imagine God's vastness, that every atom in the universe, everything that exists, is functioning in a specific way according to His active control. Right? لا تسقط من ورقة. Right? Any leaf that falls, that was because He knows exactly why and how, and that is His plan that that leaf will fall from that tree at that time, and then 500 billion light years away on some other planet or some other star, it was going to explode, and He had known and planned that that will happen for that reason at that time at the exact same time. This is His vastness. So when we say Allahu Akbar, it shouldn't be seen as some hokey phrase you say. God is greater than everything you could ever begin to imagine. That's what a lot of the modern kufr is people thinking they need to wrap their mind around God. God is vast, expansive, unlimited. Your mind is limited. No scientist worth their name and ink would say that the human mind will grasp everything of science. When they're talking in science, they're very humble. When they're talking in religion and theology, they get very arrogant very quickly, right? So it's important for us to understand that we can become superficial in our understanding. Human beings are drawn to superficial religiosity, to look at religion and the understanding of even God. That's why He says in the Quran, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Says, everything in the east and everything in the west belongs to God. So whichever direction you turn yourself, there you are turning to God. God is vast and omniscient. This is in the context of people who got really worked up when they had been praying towards Jerusalem. And then God sends a message, now you need to turn over there and pray towards Mecca. And they're like, whoa, but God is in Jerusalem. You see what happened? They're thinking, God and my belief in God is related to turning in that direction, so I'm starting to feel. So one of the beautiful wisdoms of this event is not to allow someone to think that God is in a direction. So in Surah Al-Ma'idah, He speaks of how some will lose their way and how He will always empower those who incline to Him. and He will give them strength and fortitude no matter what kind of people they are. So in that context, Allah talks about ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. That some people who seem to, like the Arab thought, well, because the Prophet ﷺ was Arab like us, and so this is ours somehow. No. Stop trying to make Allah an Arab. Again, same problem. The Yahud. If you ask a Jewish Orthodox, what's the language of God? What's the language of heaven? What's the language of Adam and Eve? Hebrew. They want God to be a culture on earth. And the whole of Surah Al-Baqarah is telling those who are receiving the revelation, who happen to first to be Arab, don't be like that. And then what do? Same kind of stuff. It's ours, our prophet, our way. So, al-ummat al-arabiyya wal-islamiyya. Why do you put it like that? شيلوا الأمة الإسلامية يشمل الإنسانية كلها. This is the attitude, that it is the nation of believers who are from every walk of life. And you don't know which one will be the greatest. It is the Prophet ﷺ said that, what is it? لا يزال الإسلام بخير, or the Prophet ﷺ says that Ahlul Gharb, the people of the West, will make sure that Islam is on good. It's in the Hadith Sahih Muslim. The brother brought it to me. I said, what does that mean? And I went to the Sharh. And there's all these different opinions. Well, because Arab are the Gharb of the others. And, oh, well, no, it means when Africa becomes, and no, it means, and they're all just, they don't have any consequential. Inshallah, our children here will bring the next Khilafah. Why not? Why not? Why would you limit Allah like that? Why could not there be a strong Islamic, beautiful greatness that the world appreciates coming from this land right here? Why not? If you're thinking not, is it you are not knowing who Allah is. Wasi'un alim. He is vast with knowledge. Now some of you are thinking, oh, maybe our masjid is in problem with the FBI now because he said that. Ittaqillah. There's nothing wrong with being a devout Muslim and establishing and asserting influence and strength according to the way of His revelation. It's a beautiful thing. So we should never belittle any value in charity. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, give, even if you have one date, break it in half and give it. Give whatever you can. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. Those who give in the path of God, very important part here. Not that it's not important to give to a poor person, but those who give in the path of God, towards uplifting His message, towards promoting the truth of Islam in the world. It is like a seed. A seed, many times seeds don't become anything. So people look at it as haqir, some little thing. But this seed, the rain comes on it and then it becomes a spike. And the spike has 100 seeds and then those seeds go and then we have hundreds of spikes and then now you have hundreds and hundreds of wheat growing around. And people are eating all kinds of bread and being blessed. Only because that one seed was given to the right place. You don't know when you give your charity for His cause. Satan is making promises. He has his selfish desire campaign. And God counters that with His promise. الشيطان يعيدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعيدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا والله واسع عليم. The shaitan is saying, you're going to become poor if you support this cause. You're going to become poor and weak if you give away any of your money to others. You should live like this. Enjoy the most extravagant desires, even if it becomes the most filthiest of behaviors. So God is promising you forgiveness from Him. وَفَضْلًا, and many forms of blessings and virtues and grace that you can't even imagine. Wallahu wasi'un alim. And we saw it. The Prophet ﷺ and his companions, they're literally like smaller than Puerto Rico. Okay? Puerto Rico has more people in it than Arabia did. But within 50 years, 50, right? Within, I'm now 45, so like one lifetime, they toppled the Persian Empire and 2/3 of the Byzantine Empire within 50 years. And their land and influence and political authority was bigger than the United States and Europe and China combined today. Look at that. Wallahu wasi'un alim. He's vast. Of course, had anyone, and it happened in the, Khandaq, just so you can see the miraculous nature of this. The battle of the ditch, the believers were being surrounded by 10,000 warriors. The largest army previously had ever been gathered in Arabia was gathered to extinguish Islam and the Muslims and assassinate the Prophet Muhammad. They came from Mecca, from other tribes, and from the Jewish tribes, and they surrounded them. And they have a big ditch, and they're trying, and it's weeks they are under siege, like the people of Gaza. And when they were building the ditch, preparing for this, basically the what do you call those? The expectations are very grim for Islam and Muslims. At this point, you're talking about a few thousand people, men, women, and children, stuck and sieged, and they're going to be destroyed and extinguished. The Prophet ﷺ is hitting this big rock because they're trying to, it's a big giant rock that horse can come over and then invade. And we need this ditch in order to create a buffer zone from this huge army. The Prophet ﷺ hit it once. Bismillah. And it cracked. And then he told everyone, I see that the palace of Yemen and Yemen will become my followers. Hit it again. I see that Persia and the palaces of Persia will become ours. I see that Rome and all of that will become under ours. Now that sounds crazy to any normal person, right? But the Prophet ﷺ was knowing intimately the promise of his Lord. لَيَبْلُغَنَّ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ مَشَارِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَمَغَارِبَهَا, that this Islam will reach the corners of the earth in all directions. Now again, at that moment it doesn't look like that's ever going to possibly happen. But here we are sitting in the corner of the earth, talking about it right now, as the Prophet ﷺ had said whenever he was just this small group of people claiming something. You see? But he knows the vastness. He did not belittle based upon the logical circumstances in front of him. And so the most important part of his vastness, we recited in Salah from Surah Al-Najm. الَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشَ إِلَّا اللَّمَمْ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ وَاسِعُ الْمَغْفِرَةِ. That the people who will go to heaven, the righteous people, they avoid the major sins and the filthy, foul, shameful actions. They will fall into minor sins, like everyone does. But they will be careful to guard against major sins. And those people, إِنَّ رَبَّكَ وَاسِعُ الْمَغْفِرَةِ. Truly your Lord is vast, unlimited in forgiveness. And so we see vastness, for the most part, is related to what in most ayahs that we said. وَاسِعٌ alim. God's knowledge, which gives him the fullest of wisdom, is vast and unlimited. You can never limit God in His knowledge. You know, when you know everything and you have a will for a wisdom that you have, because of that knowledge, you can bring forth whatever needs to be. Right? Knowledge is the key to achievement. You see? His knowledge is so vast that whatever He wills will happen. And so He knows what's in the hearts, He knows what's in the minds, He knows what's in the context, and He knows how the future can possibly work in infinite possibilities. Now, in His vastness of knowledge, as we said, that person who seeks Him out, no matter who they are. The angels, you know, they're praying for us. وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا وَسِعْتَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا فَاغْفِرْ لِلَّذِينَ تَابُوا وَاتَّبَعُوا سَبِيلَكَ وَقِهِمْ عَذَابَ النَّارِ عَذَابَ الجَحِيمِ. So as they pray, we're seeking forgiveness because you have encompassed and surrounded all things in your knowledge and mercy. So forgive, be merciful for all of those who turn back to you asking your forgiveness and they follow your teachings and protect them from the hellfire. And so Allah says, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. My mercy, wasi'at, is infinitely encompassing everything. فَسَأَكْتُبُهَا لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِنَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. If you want to make sure that His mercy, which is expansive and can cover, we all have many sins. If you want to make sure it covers your sins, then you should be mindful of God, and you should be a person of spiritual purification, and that you should be looking for His signs every day in the world around you, in His message, in His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for living with this attribute, I would say if you want to be blessed with Allah's vastness, you should start with seeking knowledge. Right? You should be a knowledge seeker. This is one of those things that I find that the ummah, if this is my personal inclination, is that the single most important element of the breaking free from the decadence and weakness of the ummah is in seeking knowledge, seeking beneficial knowledge. Any form, to study the sciences of the world of revelation, of scripture, of history, of psychology, of sociology, of biology, of physics, chemistry, computer programming. We should study everything. And we should overlap knowledges, because that's us getting close to Allah's vastness. And that empowers us to make the best decisions. And this was in our history. We were greatest when we were a people of knowledge and intuitive innovation and growth and development. And what those powers that be did to us in empowering certain leaders and putting certain systems over us. And by the way, unfortunately, as we said, the Ottomans came up and they were great, and then they fell down and they were a disgrace. And so one of the things that became very widespread in the last few hundred years was just some very strange mysticism. They left a scientific, intellectual spirituality and went to a mystical spin around in circles with the fire and, saying things they don't even know what they're saying, and spreading this all around as though, and certain people were seen as the reference, which we should never challenge because of how big his green pointed hat and how his beard flowed and the ring he had on his hand, and everybody had these weird ideas. And then the European powers came to their greatness, and then they made sure that they would put people over us and put educational weakness in us so we could never become great again. And then they opened their doors here in America and said, you can come here and do whatever you want. We're betting that you will never figure things out. And so Allah's vastness is there for us. Never limit God. You know, I got into all those debates on Aqidah whenever I was a young student of knowledge, and my Shaykh solved a big problem, lifted a huge burden from my back. He said, look, whether it's a hand or an eye or he sees or whatever, he moves and he comes down and goes out, leave all of that out of your mind. God is whatever He is, and it's not our business to figure Him out. It's a waste of your time. You're a speck of dust. Who are we to think that we're going to wrap our minds around God? Give up on that. Allahu Akbar. Just remember that. Okay? That's why we say it over and over every day. That's the problem of human beings. But try to figure out how to best live His example and promote His message in the world. That takes a lot of thinking and effort and contemplation and grasping and figuring out. Seek forgiveness often. The more you seek forgiveness, the more He's going to forgive you, for sure. Sincerely feel that we are all sinners. Seek His forgiveness. Prophet ﷺ is seeking forgiveness 100 times a day. Whatever he's doing is not even a sin in our understanding. It's a shortcoming, it's not enough, it's what he could have done better. This is the Prophet ﷺ, astaghfirullah. I'm telling you, I don't believe that the Prophet ﷺ had a bead thing and he was like, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. I don't think that's how he was doing it. At all. Actually, I know he wasn't, because there's no reference that says he did such a thing. And we have references that he parted his hair in this way, he stepped in the door in this way, he slept in this way. Surely if that's how he did it, we would know. But what he was doing throughout the day, many times, 70 and 100, meaning a whole lot, in Arabic eloquence and rhetorical methodologies, situations, thoughts, ideas, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Like, it came up a lot like that for him. Because he sees the need for forgiveness. He sees sin in the world. He sees he's around sin. He sees weakness, shortcoming. He's seeking that correction. You see that thing, like the world our ummah got superficialized and narrowed down in scope. To where the holy man is somebody who's doesn't look anything, his behavior, his worldly life. Like the Prophet was not a separate guy that dressed differently than anyone else. Prophet dressed like everybody else and lived in the world like everyone else. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's what's so miraculous about him. And last but not least is purify our intentions. Let's be deliberate. Let's make sure we know what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it and trying to do it to the best of our ability. And be generous. Give and He will give back. His vastness. What you give will do all kinds of things. So may Allah bless us to be people of knowledge and wisdom, people who have a proper estimate of the greatness and vastness, glorifying and praising Him above all things, that we have pure hearts, pure minds, and that we give to the world in ways that bring the world all of the vast beauty and goodness that Allah represents. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.